In this video, I'm going to show you how to cut this turtleneck halter neck gown with a flounce, okay? So I'm starting with my fabric on a fold, and this is the front part. So from the top, I went ahead to mark 2.5 inches, and that's for the neck depth, and for the neck width, I marked 3 inches, okay? So after marking 2.5 inches and 3 inches, the next thing I went ahead to do was to connect my markings together. You guys, my microphone has gotten stuck in my tripod. Anyway, I've unshackled it. Now, from the middle, I went ahead to mark my shoulder point. I came down by 8 inches, which is your standard bust point. And at that point, I also marked my shoulder point so that everything will be precise and equal, okay? So this is what I'm doing here. You want to make sure you do this thing so that it's not when you finish sewing your clothes will be bending like banana. So guys, I marked my shoulder point, and from there I went ahead to mark my under bust point, my waist point, and my hip point. So that's my under bust point from the top. I also went ahead to mark my hips point. For some funny reasons, I skipped marking my waist. It was after I marked my hip, I realized I had not marked my waist, so I went back to mark my waist, okay? So you're going to connect it to the middle, so when you're measuring, when you're marking, you know everything is concise. So like I told you guys, I forgot to mark my waist, so I went back to mark my waist. Yeah, okay. So these are the lines. Okay, so this is my under bust point, my waist point, and my hips point. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, guys, the next thing I went ahead to do was to mark circumference of my bust divided by 4. Okay, I marked it there. You guys know that this fabric is on a fold. Then I also went ahead to mark my under bust measurement, of course, divided by 4. I went ahead to mark my waist measurement, of course, divided by 4. Then I also went ahead to mark my hips measurement. Okay, now when you get to the hem, you're going to step it down by 1 inch or 1.5 inch, depending on how pencil you want. Me, I stepped mine down by 1.5 inch. Okay, now so after doing this, the next thing I went ahead to do was to connect my markings together. And I used my longer ruler here. Guys, I've just been buying a lot of rulers. I have like 2 more to buy. Okay, yeah. So this is what I did after connecting my markings together. This is what we have here. Now for the halter neck, you guys know this is an halter neck gown. I'm just going to take my measurement at that point. I'm going to take measurement of 3.5 inch. Okay, I'm going to take a measurement of 3.5 inch. You guys see how I measured it, right? And I'm going to connect that point to my armhole, okay, which is what I did here. I used my French curve and my straight ruler, you know, I combined both of them and I connected it to my armhole point, and we have our halter neck. Is it not straightforward? Is it not simple? The next thing I went ahead to do was to add my sewing allowance. Now for the front, I added sewing allowance of 1 inch. You can go ahead to add 1.5 or 2 inches, but you know, work with what you normally work with. So after adding my sewing allowance, I went ahead to cut, and this is what we have going on here, guys. So now after cutting, this is what the front part looks like. Very simple, very straightforward. Now it is time to cut the back part. Okay, now for the back part, of course, this fabric is on a fold, and the first thing I went ahead to do was to mark out my zip allowance. I marked 1.5 inch. For stretch fabric, I like to do 1.5 inch for some funny reasons that I don't know. Okay, now for the back, for my neck depth, I marked 1 inch. I also marked 1 inch in the zip allowance so that everything will be precise. Then I went ahead, before I bite my tongue, to mark 3 inches for my neck width. Okay, and I connected everything together. See, I didn't bother folding this zip allowance because this fabric was thick and I did not have strength to start struggling with it. Then the next thing I went ahead to do was I marked my shoulder point, just like we did for the front part. I came down by 8 inches, okay, and I also marked my shoulder point at that point. What is you call this thing? Rhyming. I'm doing rhymes for you guys. Okay, so then I connected my markings together so everything will be precise. Then the next thing I went ahead to do was to mark my bust point. Okay, so my bust divided by 4, I marked it there. Then I went ahead to mark draw my under bust point, my waist point, and my hips point. Okay, my under bust line, my waistline, and my hip line. Before you come and say which one is point, you're saying point and line. Oh, sorry, I've said point, I've said line. Choose the one you want. Okay. Okay, so I'm drawing my under bust line, my waistline, and my hips line, and this is what we have going on here, guys. Now from the just like we did for the front, I went ahead to mark 3.5 inch to get my halter neck. Okay, so which is what I did here. I marked 3.5 inch, then I connected inches, I don't know why I'm saying inch, 3.5 inches, and I connected it to my armhole point. Okay, now the reason why I use a French curve is because you guys know that that armhole side is meant to be curvy. Okay, now the next thing I went ahead to do was to mark my under bust measurement, my waist measurement, and my hips measurement. Now for the bottom, like I said, you can step it down by 1.5 inch or 1 inch depending on how pencil you want it to be. Okay, so which is what I did here. And after doing this, the next thing I did was to connect my markings together. You guys, I bought a hip curve ruler, and that thing has changed my life. I'm going to show you guys in subsequent tutorials. Okay, now the next thing I went ahead to do was to add 2 inches seam allowance to the back, because the back is going to have a dart, so I added 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, so after adding the seam allowance, the next thing I went ahead to do was to cut it out. As you can see, I was smoothing the fabric, so it's not when I go and cut the thing will be looking somehow. So you want to make sure you're always doing that, especially when you're working with stretch fabric or any fabric that doesn't sit in one place. It likes wahala. Now guys, after cutting, this is what the back part looks like. Very sweet. I like the back part compared to the front part. Tell me the part you prefer the most. Okay, so to start this tutorial, I first of all joined the zip allowance. That one is standard. I joined the zip allowance, and after joining the zip allowance, you want to do a back stitch at the end so everything is, intact. I went ahead to open it up because you guys know that this was on a fold, so we have to open it up. So after opening it up, of course, I gave it a good press. I didn't show you guys, but I gave it a good press. You want to make sure you're ironing as you're sewing. Next thing I went ahead to do was to pick my dart. Okay, if you don't know how to pick your dart, you guys register for my beginners class. Okay, so I went ahead to mark out my dart. I marked it on both sides of the back part, and the next thing I went ahead to do was to join my dart. You can see I'm securing with a pin. All of you that used to sew without pins, I don't know whether you're magicians. Okay, you want to make sure you secure with a pin, and you cut it out and give it a good press. Okay, I gave it a good press here. You can see it's well relaxed. You can see what it looks like. It's well relaxed, it's well put together. Now this is what the back part looks like, guys. For now, we are done with the back. It's time for the front part, and for the front part, it has a bust dart. That's what they call it, a bust dart. Now to mark this bust dart, you're just going to move 1 inch away from where you mark your standard dart. You guys know that we'll take our standard dart at 4 inches from the middle, so I moved 1 inch away and I marked my bust dart. Okay, I came down from my bust point by 1 inch, and I moved away from my standard dart point by 1 inch, and I marked my bust dart, and I went over to my sewing machine and I picked it. Okay, I sewed the dart together, and this is what we have here, guys. This is the back part. No, let me show you the front part. Just hold on. This is what the back part looks like, because we're going to join the back and the front together, and this is what the front part looks like. You can see the dart, very simple, very straightforward. No plenty drama. Okay, if you guys want a separate tutorial on this, let me know in the comment section. Okay, now this is what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like. Very simple, very straightforward. Here you go. So I placed the back part on the front part, or the front part on the back part, whichever one you like, and I marked out my measurement, and I took it over to my sewing machine, and I joined the front part and the back part together. This is what we have here, guys. Now for the halter neck armhole, let me put it like that, you need to turn it over. So it's either you fold it Yeah, is that you fold it, you weave it and fold it, or you use a bias tape. Now I wanted to use a bias tape because see that folding there, I was not in the mood to struggle with thick fabric, so I used this wine color bias tape, and I used it to turn over the armhole part of this halter neck. You want, if you're doing this, make sure you use a matching bias tape. Yeah, I had to go to the market specifically just for this one because I do not have a wine bias tape. Yeah, so guys, after turning it over, the next thing I went ahead to do was to top stitch the bias, because you don't want it puffing out. You want to what is the word, you want to smoothen the seam or hold the seam in place. Okay, you want to stitch the seam in place so it doesn't puff out, right? So after doing this, the next thing I went ahead to was to turn it over and to sew on top. Okay, I'm going to show you another angle, right? Yeah, you're just going to turn it over like this, flip it inwards, and you're going to sew on top, which is what I did here. Now you want to make sure your stitches are straight and it's neat, because that's the beauty of this gown. Okay, yeah, so which is what I did here. You can see how beautiful you can see how beautiful it looks. You want to make sure you give it a good press. At this point, I had not pressed it because I wanted to show you guys first, but I went ahead to give it a good press. Now, for the collar, guys, for the collar, you want to take the circumference of your neck, not too tight. I'm showing you guys with this mannequin, but I know the circumference of my neck. Not too tight, not too loose, okay? You want to take circumference of your neck, because that is what is going to guide you to cutting the collar. Now, this is just one of the scrap fabric that I'm going to use to cut my collar. You want to make sure that it is stretching in both directions. Okay, you want to make sure that it's stretching the where you're cutting it is in the direction of the flared. Okay, now for me, what's the word, my collar is 18 inches, so I went ahead to mark 19 inches because I went ahead to mark 20 inches because I need 1 inch, okay, on both sides for my zip allowance. Then I went ahead to mark 3 inches for the length, okay, for the length of the collar. Yeah, so 3 inches for the length of the collar and 20 inches for the width of the collar. Okay, so after cutting it, this is what we have here, guys. Now, because this is a stretchy collar, okay, I went ahead to press it. You're going to secure with a pin, fold it into two, and you're going to give it a good press. Now, after giving it a good press, I took it over to my sewing machine and ran not so tight stitches, loose stitches. Now, the reason I'm doing this because I need the crease line from these stitches. It will help me sew the collar. Okay, so after running stitches on it, I took it back to my ironing table and I gave it a good press. Okay, I gave it a good press because I need the crease line from my seam. Okay, so I just took my time to open it up and I puffed the steam inside, guys. I gave it the steam of its life, and this is what we have here, guys. You can see the crease line. I don't know if the camera is showing you guys very well, but you can see the crease line. Okay, now the next thing I went ahead to do was to secure the collar to the dress. Now you see that the armhole is not turned here. That's because initially when I was filming, I forgot to turn over the armhole, so I had to go back and loosen the collar that I joined, turn over the armhole and refilm it for you guys. Okay, now you're going to get the middle of the collar and the middle of the front part of the dress, and you're going to attach one piece of the collar to the dress. Okay, middle of collar to middle of front part of the dress. You're going to secure with a pin. Now you're going to just stretch the collar to the back part, secure the collar to the zip allowance or to the back part of the outfit. Okay, now you're going to do this for the second side as well. Now, because you took the circumference of your collar not so tight, the excess fabric is what is going to cover up that open part in the halter neck. Okay, so after securing the collar together, I took it over to my sewing machine and I just joined everything together. Okay, I have another tutorial on this channel on this particular collar technique, so you might want to check it out. So I just took my time to stitch the collar. When I get to the part where there's no fabric, you want to make sure you where there's no like gown fabric, you want to make sure you're back stitching. Okay, so I did this till I got to the other part of the dress. Okay, so this is what we have here. I've gone ahead to join the collar. Now the next thing I went ahead to do, now see where the crease line will help. Another place where the crease line will help is I'm just going to put it like that, and I'm going to fold it. You see where that crease line is? That's where I'm going to fold, and I'm going to top stitch. Okay, I'm going to touch. You see why I needed the crease line for both sides? It's going to help me get the precise measurement or precise amount of fabric that I need to fold in and I need to join. Okay, you guys say I should stop saying top stitch, right? You're going to understitch. Understitch it. You want to make sure it is neat, because that's the beauty of this dress. So I went ahead to understitch. This is what we have here. I've gone ahead to give it a good press. Very simple, very straightforward. Now you guys know that this gown has a flounce, so I just went ahead to cut my flounce. I was managing fabric and this thing came back to bite me in my bum bum. Okay, so you want to make sure. I think I bought 3 yards. If you're buying, is it 3 yards or 4 yards? If you're buying, buy as much as 5 yards. Okay, because I had to what's the word? I had to, is it compromise? Yeah, improvise. Yeah, I had to improvise. So if you don't know how to cut a flounce, I have a detailed tutorial on how to cut a flounce on this channel. Check it out. The next thing I went ahead to do was to attach my zip to the back part of this dress. So I changed to my zip press footer or footer press footer. Yeah, I changed it to my zip press footer, and I joined my zip to the back part. After joining the zip, after attaching the zip, guys, this is what we have here. Now I told you guys that the flounce wasn't flouncing. It was flouncing, but it wasn't like giving what I wanted it to give because of the length I worked with. So I went ahead to gather the flounce. Okay, now I'm marking where I'm going to attach my flounce. So I moved for the front part, I marked it at 4 inches. For the back part, I marked at about 3.5 inches. Okay, yeah, from the middle. So this is what we have here, guys. The next thing I went ahead to do was to just place my flounce on the line I've marked and sew. Now because this is a gathered flounce, it gave it a more bubbling washy effect. And guys, this is what we have here, a very beautiful turtleneck flounce gown. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Compliments of the season. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I love you guys. I love you. Enjoy my dance, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye.